will be recorded, and only speakers are invited to unmute themselves in order to work properly. If participants have some questions or remarks, they could write in the chat box, and we will have a special session for Q&A for discussion later according to our program. Now I have the pleasure to give the floor to our host, in fact, the President of the Bulgarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Cvetan Semyonov, for opening.
Good afternoon, everybody. Your Excellency, Mr. Atanasov, dear participants, it is my pleasure to address you during second edition of our event. First time we presented the opportunities of Argentina for tourism, and as we could expect, it was very interesting because Argentina is a very big country with very interesting nature, with hospitable people. But today we will try to show that we are ready, even smaller destination, to compete and to do our best to increase first the interest for visiting Bulgaria, and second, to use our country like starting point for knowing more about the Balkans, very famous historically area of the world, and why not further starting point for knowing Europe and Near East. Today we have with us there is further development of the scheme of our events. We have I hope he is online, our ambassador, His Excellency Stoyan Mikhailov in Argentina, and also new partner. I'm very pleased to say hello to representative Director of International Relations of Ministry of Tourism of Republica Bulgaria. Quite logical, they are our partners for our event today. Because we have experts with us, I will not use more of your time and will let the experts to speak, but we will stay online, and we will be ready not only during this session. Please remember that we open the dialogue now for Bulgaria, but we will be at your disposition for any question. Bulgarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry has under our auspices branch organization from touristic sectors, including one of the biggest organizations of tour operators, and this will be something that will make your questions easier to be responded. Thank you very much. Once again, thanks to the Ambassador Atanasov, because he shows that diplomacy is good, that diplomacy should be open for the businesses, that economization of diplomacy is very important thing, but he shows that there should be balance, not only to make together events for one country, let both sides profit from these events. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Dear President of the Bulgarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Svetan Simonov, dear colleagues, the Ambassador of the Republic of Bulgaria in Argentina, Mr. Stoyan Mikhailov, Mrs. Svetlana Golemanova, Director International Relations and Investment, Ministry of Tourism of the República of Bulgaria, and Mr. Dimitar Baltov, Vice President of the Association of Tour Operator and Travel Agent Union Future for Tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank again the opportunity given on January 27 to introduce the Argentine tourist offer to the Bulgarian operators. In this second meeting, we are once again summoned by the Bulgarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, but for the mirror tourism promotion activity. During this session, our Bulgarian friends are going to present their own country. I have no doubt that Bulgaria will arouse interest in Argentinians, being it a country with great natural beauty, a country whose territory was the theater of innumerable and this event in European and human history, and a country which has a very rich heritage of tradition. I give the floor to Ambassador Mikhailov, who now best go to describe the wonder of his beloved Bulgaria. Thank you very much.
Well, hello everybody, dear Mr. Simonov, Your Excellency, Ambassador Tanasov, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to be with you today, But first of all, I'd like to express my special thanks to the Bulgarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Embassy of the Republic of Argentina in Sofia, and the Health Ecology Tourism Association for the very kind invitation and the opportunity to participate in the forum today. No doubt it is a great event that will generate a new momentum in the cooperation between Bulgaria and Argentina in the field of tourism. Argentina and Bulgaria have excellent relations, and just last year we celebrated 90 years of diplomatic relations. Still, there is a huge potential of cooperation that is left unused, including in the area of tourism. At the same time, both countries have a lot to offer to the tourists. I would like to see more Argentinians discovering Bulgaria. For example, because of the huge territory of Argentina, few people in that country know and understand that within a short period of time, they can enjoy different types of tourism in Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, in just one day, you can go to the mountains and visit the Black Sea coast. You can relax by the sea or dive into the nightlife of our seaside resorts. If you get tired of the sea, you can go to the mountains for a walk or to practice extreme sports. In winter, you can go to ski. There are 6,000 caves in Bulgaria. Bulgaria offers excellent opportunities for spa tourism. There is a great number of hot springs that have a positive effect on different kinds of medical conditions. So there are many potential spots for a tourist coming to Bulgaria, depending on his or her interests and the time available. But if we want to see more tourists coming from Argentina to Bulgaria, it's crucial that the information about our offers reach the customer. And one of the best channels to promote the tourist products is through the professionals, the tourist agencies and operators and their own networks of customers. And in this respect, the Business Forum today has a very important role to play, to establish direct contacts between the key players in the field of tourism in Bulgaria and Argentina. It is also the right moment to do it, when the world slowly starts going back to normal after the peaks of the COVID pandemic. No doubt, the pandemic badly affected the tourist industry all over the world, but we must stay positive. Wise people say, when a door closes, another one opens. The pandemic broke the regular and traditional tourist streams. under the pandemic restrictions, the tourists were unable to travel to their favorite places where they used to go for years. The tourists had and still have to look around for new alternatives. And this is the moment where new opportunities open and new places emerge as attractive destinations. This is the moment where the professionals, the agencies and the operators can promote new, bigger, upgraded offers with new destinations like Bulgaria for the Argentinian tourists. And right in this endeavor, I would like to wish to all the participants in the Business Forum today a fruitful discussion. And please remember that the Embassy of Bulgaria in Buenos Aires is your partner. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, so since we are hosts of the meeting, with permission of His Excellency, our partner, I will invite now Madame Svetlana Golemanova, Director of International Relations and Investments in the Ministry of Tourism of Republic of Bulgaria. Ms. Golemanova, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Simeonov. I hope that you can hear me well. Thank you. Excellencies, dear Mr. Simeonov, ladies and gentlemen, friends, because in tourism we're all friends. His Excellency, Mr. Mikhailov, said most of my speech, but I will repeat some of the data and the facts about Bulgarian tourism. On behalf of the Ministry of Tourism of the Republic of Bulgaria, I would like to express my gratitude to our hosts, to the Bulgarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Embassy of Argentina, and the Health, Ecology and Tourism Consortium for organizing this event, and also welcome our guests from Argentina. Tourism in Bulgaria has been developing at an extremely fast pace. In the pre-pandemic period, 2015-2019, Bulgarian annually achieved peaks in terms of both visits by foreign tourists and in terms of revenue from inbound tourism. In 2019, more than 9 million foreigners visited the country for tourism, and revenues reached are 3.7 billion euros. The contribution of the sector to the country's GDP was 10.8%, and its share in total employment was 10.6%. As we know, Bulgaria offers a high quality and diverse tourist product. Our country is mostly recognizable as a summer tourist destination for sea tourism. The Bulgarian Black Sea coast offers numerous and varied opportunities for recreation and entertainment. But along with summer sea tourism, Bulgaria is becoming an increasingly recognizable destination for skiing, cultural, historical, balneology, and spa tourism. Bulgarian winter resorts have always been a popular destination for skiing and other winter sports. Our country has a rich history and culture. Our lands were home to people from various ancient civilizations, ancient Greeks, Romans, Thracians, Proto-Bulgarians, Ottoman Turks, all of whom have left their mark on our history and culture. Bulgaria ranks third in Europe in terms of historical artifacts, right after Italy and Greece. Our lands provide excellent conditions for spa and rehabilitation tourism. Nature has given Bulgaria the greatest wealth, the magical springs of health and beauty. The geographical position of the country, the favorable climate, and the diverse landscape create miraculous opportunities for human health. But the most valuable natural gift here are the natural mineral springs. All known types of mineral waters are found in Bulgaria. Healing and valuable water is the only natural element that has the gift to purify, heal, and balance the human body. It is an interesting fact that our country ranks second in Europe after Iceland in thermal mineral springs, over 600, most of which are not yet used. The COVID-19 pandemic has fundamentally changed the lives of all people, both in its health, social, and economic dimensions. The tourism sector was the first to feel the negative effects of the coronavirus crisis. With timed actions, we managed to minimize the bankruptcies of tour operators and travel agencies and the closure of hotels. We have introduced anti-epidemic measures in hotels, restaurants, and entertainment facilities in order to ensure the safety of all tourists. Bulgaria is part of the tourist destination with safety and hygiene travel stamp issued by the World Travel and Tourism Council. Argentina is a prospective tourism market for Bulgaria. Pre-pandemic, nearly 4,000 tourists from Argentina visited Bulgaria each year. However, we believe the levels of inbound tourism from Argentina can be significantly higher. Therefore, we plan to expand our promotional activities mainly with the help of both our embassies in Buenos Aires and Embassy of Argentina here in Sofia. I would like to thank every representative of the Argentinian tourism business that is attending this forum, and also to assure you that you can count on the help and cooperation from the Ministry of Tourism of the Republic of Bulgaria. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Ms. Kolemanova. I hope you hear me now, changing the device. Thank you for your support and readiness to be with us, helping the contacts between companies from both countries, especially in the field of tourism. Now, following our program, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Dimitar Baltov. He is Vice President of the Union Future for Tourism. He will present us, in fact, the opportunities of tourism in our countries.
Thank you very much. Hello to everyone. First of all, let me express my gratitude to the Bulgarian Chamber of Industry and Commerce and to Mr. Simeonov for organizing this event, and also to His Excellency Mr. Atanasov and to His Excellency Mr. Mikhailov for participating in the event as well. I will start with my presentation now, with which I hope to inform you about Bulgaria and about all the wonderful opportunities that it can provide for your tourists. Let me share my screen now. And I will start with the presentation. Okay, you should be able to see my presentation now. First, I wanted to start with a very brief explanation of the history of Bulgaria, because Bulgaria is a very old state. It's actually one of the oldest states in Europe, and it's very important to understand its complicated and long history, because one of the main attractions that Bulgaria can offer to the tourists are actually cultural and connected to its history. Bulgaria has been founded in 681, but even before that, the Balkan Peninsula, when Bulgaria is situated today, was the cradle of civilization for many centuries. Where we live now, there used to live the Thracian civilization, which is actually one of the oldest civilizations in Europe, with the first traces from that civilization starting from 1,500 years before Christ. It was a very advanced culture, and although they were considered barbarians by the Greeks and Romans, They were actually considered primitive mainly because they lived in simple open villages, but the Thracians have had in fact a fairly advanced culture and were especially noted for their poetics and music. Orphe, the god of music, was actually celebrated all over the Balkan Peninsula. So the Thracians were actually also very good fighters and valued as mercenaries, particularly by the Romans and by the Greeks. They were also very fond of wine. They're considered to be the alcoholics of the ancient times because they loved wine a lot. So the tradition of cultivating wine in Bulgaria comes from you can say from very, very long time ago. The Thracians were also excellent goldsmiths. They were producing all kind of jewelry and other things from gold. So because the Thracians were living in our lands today, today you can find all over Bulgaria different treasures coming from the period of the Thracian civilization. Actually, the Thracians, they had this custom of burying the very rich and powerful leaders and people with a treasure, with jewelry, with arms, and so on, kind of like the Egyptians. So those treasuries that were found in Bulgaria are from such funerals of very powerful and rich people. What you're seeing here is actually one of the best preserved and the best gold treasures that were found. What is interesting is that even today, the experts say that it's very hard, almost impossible, to achieve the detail of all the different figures that are that you can see in these different items. And I wanted to show something else. This that you see here, it looks like a cup. This is actually something that they were using to drink wine from. And there in the background, you can also see also a vessel for the wine. So continuing with now with the history of Bulgaria. As I told you, Bulgaria was founded in 681, which makes it one of the most ancient states in Europe. It was founded by the so-called Khan Asparuh, who actually fought the Byzantium Empire in order to be able to proclaim Bulgaria independent. After that followed a very one of the best periods of Bulgarian history, what we call the medieval golden age. Bulgaria was growing and was becoming one of the most powerful states in Europe, one of the main rivals of the Byzantium and the Roman Empire. During that time, a lot of fortresses were built. Bulgaria moved its capital in Veliko Trnovo. The picture that you see here is from the Tsarovets fortress, which was the place where the king lived. Towards the end of this period, one of the most important rulers of Bulgaria, Tsar Simeon, he's famous not only for his successful military campaigns, but he also worked a lot to develop the Bulgarian literature and education. A little known fact is that actually the Cyrillic alphabet was created in Bulgaria. The saints Cyril and Methodius, they were commissioned by the Pope to spread the Christianity in the new areas of Europe, and they decided to create this alphabet, which is called Glagolica. And using this alphabet as foundation, Bulgarian scholars, with the financial support of Tsar Simeon, actually managed to create the Cyrillic alphabet, which is today used by many Slavic nations. So the end of this golden age of Bulgaria is marked by the arrival of the Ottomans, of the Ottoman Empire in Europe, which happens in the 15th and 16th century, and during that time Bulgaria falls under the occupation of the Ottoman Empire. This is a very long period of Bulgarian's history. Bulgaria was under Ottoman occupation for 500 years, and we consider it a miracle that the Bulgarian culture and the Bulgarian people in general survived during that rough period. What I'm showing you here is a picture of the Bochkovo Monastery, and I'm showing it because these monasteries, here you can see the Rila Monastery, which is one of the biggest attractions actually in Bulgaria. It's very scenic place in the mountains, and the monastery itself is very beautiful. So these monasteries were actually the fortresses of the Bulgarian culture and education. This is the way that the Bulgarian culture was preserved, and the Bulgarian people survived during that long period of foreign occupation. Towards the end of the Ottoman occupation, so in the 18th century, what we call the Bulgarian revival started to happen. Bulgarians were relearning their ancient history. They were relearning that to be a proud people. And this was all thanks to the fact that actually Bulgaria was one of the richest regions of the Ottoman Empire. So Bulgarian traders and Bulgarian, in general, businessmen, you can say, were becoming richer and richer. They were starting to build these beautiful houses. So this house is in the small town of Koprivčica, which is in the mountains. The whole town is it's an architectural reserve, and the whole town is that there are houses like this scattered all over the town. The streets, they're preserved as they were before. It's a very, very nice and picturesque village that the tourists can visit and can learn about the Bulgarian history. This city was also very, very fundamental for the revival of the Bulgarian people and for the revolution that was starting. This picture is from the old Plovdiv. So Plovdiv is today the second biggest city in Bulgaria, but it has this old town with similar houses that all of these were built during the revival period. Which revival period actually ended up in the liberation of Bulgaria with the aid of Russia, because the Ottoman Empire was a very, very powerful state that just a few revolutionaries weren't able to beat. So this was my presentation for the history of Bulgaria. I hope that this gave you an idea about the fact that Bulgaria has a rich and very colorful history. Now I would like to share with you a short video which will give you a better visual representation of what Bulgaria has to offer now, and of what Bulgaria is today as a modern country. So this was the short video provided to us by the Ministry of Tourism, for which I thank, and I hope you liked it. It has some very good shots of the Bulgarian cultural and natural also attractions. So the next part of my presentation is for the Bulgarian culture and folklore. What you see behind here on the picture is the traditional dance of Horo. This is a dance in which the men and the women, they dance separated, and they dance like this, holding hands in a line. And they're wearing the traditional Bulgarian uniforms. The Bulgarian folklore is very rich and colorful. Every region has a different uniform. They roughly look similar, but they have different colors, or the details on them are different. They have different pictures on them, and so on. This is an example of Horo with women and of a different type of traditional Bulgarian uniform. A little known fact is that actually one of the instruments that are very common for the Bulgarian folkloric songs is the bagpipe, which is called gaida in Bulgarian. It's different from the bagpipe, from the Irish bagpipe, which is more famous, but it functions on the same principle, and the sound is similar, but it has its own unique flavor. Also, the different regions in Bulgaria, they have different folkloric music, they could be very different from one another. The old tradition of the walking on braes. So the people that walk on braes, they're called nestinari. And you can see here that the man here is holding an icon of a saint. This is a tradition, and this happens in one village in Bulgaria called Bulgari once a year. But also it's practiced in other places as well. But this is the place from where the tradition originated. And it still happens every year. There's a festival on that day. As you can see, there are people watching and taking photos. Another important and famous Bulgarian tradition is the rose cultivation and the cultivation of the rose oil. So the rose oil is the fundament of all the expensive perfumes. And it's something that's actually very expensive. The rose oil, the plant itself is very specific and only grows in very peculiar climates. Bulgaria is the only place in Europe where you can grow the rose oil. The other places being in Asia and in Northern Africa. So this is you could say an industry that has very old traditions in Bulgaria, and the place where the roses are in grow is called the Rose Valley, and it's around the town of Kazanlak, where each year we do what we call the Rose Festival, which happens during the period when you can pick the rose flowers from the plants. Everyone gathers. They do all these folkloric dance. Everybody's wearing the traditional uniforms, and it's a very nice attraction for tourists from all over the world. Moving on to the nature of Bulgaria. So Bulgaria has continental climate, which gives us 4 very distinct seasons. As His Excellency Mr. Mikhailov said, one of the best features of Bulgaria when it comes to tourism is that on a very small space, you can have very different attractions. So you can be one day in the mountains, the next day you can be in the valley looking at archaeologic attractions. The next day you can be on the seaside surfing. and the next day you can be on the in Russe on the Danube or fishing. So Bulgaria is packed of different attractions in a very small space. In the end of my presentation, we'll look at the map of Bulgaria so that you can get better situated. What you see here in the background are 2 of the 7 Rila lakes. Rila is the highest mountain in Bulgaria. It's a alpine style mountain. And one of the most beautiful places in the mountain is this spot, the seven Rila lakes. It's very easily accessible, even though it's high up in the mountain. As we have built the infrastructure, so it takes from the last stop of the lift, it takes an hour to reach the first lakes, and anyone can go there. That doesn't mean that you have to be really equipped and so on. My company, we have done it with elderly tourists that were not equipped, so it's very easy to get there. This is the Kardjali Dam. This is in the southeastern part of Bulgaria. Again, a very scenic place, very different from everything else. It kind of reminds the Grand Canyon a bit, because there are rocks, there are vultures also flying around. So a very different place and for Bulgarian nature, and very, very beautiful as well. So moving now to the seaside. The Bulgarian seaside is very, very famous for its mainly for its resorts. But that's not the only thing it can offer. It's famous for its nightlife in resorts like Sunny Beach and the Golden Sands. But also there are a lot of cultural attractions on the Black Sea coast, and also resorts that are suitable for other type of groups besides young people. What I'm showing here in the picture is the town of Nessebar. This is a very old town. It was actually created as a Greek colony thousands of years before Christ. After that was under Roman jurisdiction, and then it became Bulgarian. It's actually an island on which there are a lot of old houses, churches, and monasteries preserved. And it's part of the UNESCO historic heritage site. It's very beautiful, very scenic place. Here we're showing a picture of the beaches in one of the Bulgarian resorts. Something else you can do on the seaside besides visiting the cultural attractions and laying on the beaches, go golfing. There are a couple of world-renowned golf resorts on the Bulgarian seaside. We're showing here pictures of one of it, Thracian Cliffs. This one is probably the most scenic one. And I've personally been there with international golfers who have told me that they've only seen something like this in New Zealand. It's very interesting because as you can see, the golf courses on the rocks themselves. So it creates a very, very spectacular view for the golfers. Now, moving on to the winter tourism in Bulgaria. Bulgaria has very good winter resorts as well, and provides good possibilities to go skiing and snowboarding. What you're seeing now is a picture from one of our winter resorts. It's called Borovets. It's we can say the second biggest and most famous one, and the other one being Bansko. Bansko is the biggest and the most famous winter resort. It has hosted multiple times events from the World Ski Cup, and offers excellent possibilities for skiing. And you can also again combine ski with visiting the Rila Monastery, which is really close by, and also going to the spa resort, for example, Separeva Banya, where you can have different spa procedures after skiing during the whole day, for example. Moving on to the gastronomy, Bulgarian cuisine is very tasty. It's pretty much a mix of European and Oriental cuisine, but also mixed with unique Bulgarian flavors. First thing I'm going to talk about is the yogurt. Bulgaria is very famous with its yogurt, and it's actually the bacteria that creates yogurt is found here in Bulgaria. So yogurt all over the world is made with this Bulgaria that is with this bacteria that is found only here. Bulgarian yogurt tastes the best, in my opinion. So if you come here and if you come here with tourists, you have to try it. It's very tasty. We Bulgarian eat it with a lot of stuff, and we put it in a lot of stuff. The next thing, the next specialty, the Bulgarian specialty is banica. Banica is a type of pastry. It's salty. It has white cheese in it. It goes very well with yogurt. You can find it everywhere. Nowadays, we eat it for breakfast when we have to go, we're in a hurry to go to work. There are a lot of places in the cities that sell banica, and you can take a slice and have this delicious breakfast. Again, if you come to Bulgaria, you have to try banica. So the white Bulgarian cheese, we make it from cows, from goats, from sheep, and so on. It's very tasty. It's kind of like feta cheese, but it's a little bit different. So again, something that you have to try when you come to Bulgaria. Bulgarians, they eat a lot of meat. We eat pork, beef, and chicken, and so on. Kavarma is one of the dishes that you can prepare with all kinds of different meats. So you can have it from pork, from chicken, and so on. And it's again it's something with vegetables and with spices that you can eat on its own without salad or anything. Very, very tasty. The next specialty is the so-called cheverme, or roasted lamb. But this is the whole lamb gets put on a stick like this, and then on braise gets roasted very, very slowly. It takes a lot of time to roast the whole lamb, but in the end, the meat is very, very delicious and so tender that it falls off the bones by itself. We have this is kind of a traditional meal that we prepare for one of our most important holidays, the holiday of Saint George. From the cuisine to wine production. As I told you, Bulgaria has very ancient tradition when it comes to wine production. The whole country is divided into 4 wine regions. In every region, you encounter different type of grapes and vines. And there are multiple vines that are grown only in Bulgaria. So you will have the opportunity to taste wine which is only produced in Bulgaria. One of the most famous ones are Gamza and Mavrut, but there are also tens more. Here you can see a picture from one of the big plantations, and this is the ritual of squashing the grape. So before the grape is put into all the vessels and so on to make wine, you have to squash the grapes so that you can extract the juice from them. This is a very important tradition in Bulgaria. So again, everyone dresses up in the traditional uniforms, and the tradition dictates that the young girls. They have to get into those big, and this is actually a small one. There are even bigger buckets. A couple of girls get inside, and they squash the grapes with their bare feet. So this is the end of my presentation, and to finish everything off, I would like to give you a little tour on the map of Bulgaria so that you can get an idea of all the things that we were talking about. So, as I told you, Bulgaria is a small country. From Sofia, which is the capital of Bulgaria, to Burgas, which is situated here. Burgas is one of the big cities on the seaside. It's 400 kilometers. So you can imagine you can kind of have an idea about the distance. So almost from west to east, it's a little bit over 400 kilometers. So easily you can go from Sofia to Burgas in 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, because it's all autobahn now. So as I told you, Sofia is the capital city. It's also a very old city. It was created by the Romans. The Roman name is Serdica. The Sofia, it's the biggest city in Bulgaria. It's with a lot of businesses and so on, but still there are quite a few attractions that you can visit here. And also you have the Vitusha Mountains, which are really close by. Actually, Sofia is in the feet of the mountain. So here also you can visit the mountains, and there are also lifts, so you can even go ski here. Plovdiv, the second biggest city, it's why am I not seeing it? Okay, so it's located here. It's under, so this here that you see is the Balkan mountain. So it's called Stara Planina in Bulgarian. So this is the Balkan mountain. This here is the real mountain, the highest mountain. Here is the real monastery. This is the Pirin mountain, and these are the Rhodop mountains. Here are the valleys of Bulgaria. As I told you, Plovdiv is here. So Plovdiv has this beautiful, Plovdiv is here. So Plovdiv has this beautiful old town, again, an architectural reserve. And also Plovdiv is one of the oldest cities in Europe. There's a Roman arena here, a Roman forum, a lot of attractions for your tourists. Here is Varna. Varna is the biggest city on the Black Sea in Bulgaria, and from Varna all the way to the border with Turkey. Here there are all kinds of resorts, small, bigger ones, old, new, and so on. So as I already told you, the Bulgarian seaside can offer many different experiences for your tourists. Kazanluk, the place with the Rose Valley, is here, and as I told you, the rose plants, they need very specific climate to grow. So here you have the Stara Planina, and here you have a smaller mountain called Sredna Gora, and this valley here provides these very, very special conditions for the roses. They usually grow in such valleys between two mountains. I hope you got a better idea of what Bulgaria can offer with my presentation. I'd like to thank all of our Argentinian colleagues for being here and for taking an interest in Bulgaria. And I'm looking forward to working with you and receiving your tourists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Balto, for your detailed presentation. We saw a lot. We felt the sense of Bulgaria in your presentation, in the short movie, and the pictures that you have shared. Now I'm looking at the chat of our event. We don't have many questions or comments. I would like to welcome participants if they want to share their thoughts or they have some questions to put them in there. In advance, I was asked by our partners from Argentina, how is COVID changing tourism nowadays. So I hope one of our speakers today could intervene on this topic.
Yes, of course, I can give you my thoughts on this. So, of course, COVID has been a great challenge in Bulgaria as well as all over the world. But we can say that Bulgaria is one of the countries that did well during the pandemic. So we didn't get that many people sick. So things were not as bad as in some other places in Europe. Bulgaria is starting to reopen for tourism, and even last year, especially during the spring and during the summer, we were receiving a lot of tourists from abroad, even from faraway destinations like Japan or China and so on. So we have in place, of course, protocols for health and security. Right now, yeah, if you want to visit a restaurant or if you want to visit a bar or something like this, you have to be either vaccinated or have a certificate that shows that you have been sick in the last 6 months, or you need to have had a PCR or an antigenic test done. There are restrictions, of course, but the restrictions are less severe than they are in other countries in Europe. And also right now the tendency is to make it less and less restricted so that we can grow again our numbers in tourism. And actually the data for now for the spring and the summer looks good when it comes to reservations and bookings from abroad.
Thank you, Mr. Balto, for your update. It's important to know what is the current situation. Meanwhile, I have shared in the chat box the list of participants of today all registered, so you could continue exchanging views by email and other means for communication. Now, I would like to...
Gabi, do we have questions from the participants?
In the chat, not.
May I add something that is also interesting?
You're welcome.
Thank you. I would like to thank Mr. Balto for very, very exhaustive and interesting presentation. But being 40 years in Chamber of Commerce, I would like to add some interesting facts for Bulgaria, more facts. First, he mentioned for Plovdiv, this is one of the ancient cities in the world, but it is the longest populated interruptedly city in Europe. There is no city which still exists and existing for so long time, being populated interruptedly. Second important fact is that Bulgaria is the oldest country in Europe now that preserves its original name. No one country in European continent has preserved for 13 centuries its original name. And one interesting fact, our sea water is twice less salty than the ocean. So it's not that inconvenient when it reaches your mouth or your eyes. And during the summer, the temperature is reaching 28, 29 degrees, which is very comfortable for people that like to swim in we have fall season. This is not something strange for Argentinian people. And we have a presentation in wine sector but we feel that as quantity, we could not compete with countries like Argentina. So we invented special festival. It will be organized this year again. It's named Balkan Festival of Wines. And we realized that if all the Balkan countries appear together on international market, we will be fifth bigger supplier of wines, like quantity, because the varieties are enormous. Because we are pragmatic, I would like to invite you not to postpone your steps to Bulgaria, and you have already established contacts with touristic sector of Bulgaria. In June, this will be organized 16 and until 18th of June in the very center of Sofia. If you come, you have opportunity to test more than 1,000 varieties of wines. We will organize, because it's an open air, the climate is very good, the weather is good, and forecast is good. You could be able to test more than 1,000 wines. So you are mostly welcome in small Bulgaria, but with very serious potential. Thank you very much for your participation. If there are questions, certainly we will stay online for a few more minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Semyonov, for adding this important information about Bulgaria. I would like to ask now our speakers, would they like to give some final words to our event, if they want to intervene?
Do you want to say something? It's okay.
May I say something?
Please, Your Excellency.
From the far away. I would like to extend a request to the tourist business in Bulgaria. There is something very special they should know, and they have to consider it when they try to attract Argentinian tourists and to establish working contacts with their partners in Argentina. We shouldn't forget that here Argentina is in the middle, if we can say so, of the Spanish-speaking ocean. The Spanish language is so dominant, and the market is so huge that actually a huge part, maybe the majority, if not everybody here, with the business has specialized in working in Spanish. So it is very important to deliver our offers from Bulgaria, our products, to the market of Argentina in Spanish. English is good, but English is limited in this part of the world because, as I said, this is a Spanish-speaking ocean. And it is very important to deliver our messages, our offers, our products in Spanish, including our presentations. And we should start thinking in a possibility to communicate what we want to say in Spanish. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Do we have other remarks?
Gabi, do we have any questions? If not?
No, everything is clear.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like, first of all, to thank our partners from the two embassies, to Ambassador Mikhailov, to Ambassador Atanasov. I would like to wish all of you a successful year. There is light into the tunnel, even for the most affected by the measures and restrictions of COVID period sector, touristic sector, and we expect you. Le esperamos en Bulgaria. Hasta
la próxima.
La próxima.